Welcome to the Healthcare Executive Podcast, providing you with insightful commentary and developments in the world of healthcare leadership. To learn more, visit ache.org. And without further ado, your host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Healthcare Executive Podcast. Our guest today is Dawn Zell-Wright, who is System Vice President of HR Operations at CHRISTUS Health in Irving, Texas. Now, in her role, she leverages HR to create operational synergy across organizations to the benefit of physicians, service partners, patients, and the community. Now, to do that, she uses evidence-based best practices from various platforms to design and implement customized solutions for complex problems. Now, Dawn earned her undergraduate degree in behavioral science from Concordia University, Texas, her MBA from West Texas A&M, and a Juris Doctor from St. Mary's University School of Law. She is an ACHE Fellow and holds the Senior Professional in Human Resources certification. So with that being said, Dawn, welcome to the Healthcare Executive Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
All right, so Dawn is faculty member of the Board of Governors Examination Review Course, so she has expertise on this topic. And first thing we want to know, though, before we get into that is let's talk a little bit about your career journey. How did you get involved in the healthcare field?
Well, I am not a traditionalist. Healthcare is such an exciting field, and I have found many people who've spent their entire careers in healthcare, and I didn't do that. I actually have significant other industry experience, air quotes around other, meaning non-healthcare and non-healthcare related. I really love what I do, and I was talking to my husband one day, and I said, I don't feel complete, and I feel like I'm supposed to do something more, and I don't know what impact I'm making. And so, because he's extraordinarily supportive, he, really asked me to explore that and what does it mean. And I came back a few months later and said, I think I'm supposed to be in healthcare. It is the place where I can practice human resources, balance with my operations experience, and really impact my community in a way that is lasting and meaningful. So in other words, I was called, and I think that's why most people end up getting into healthcare, whether through traditional right out of school methods or later in life after realizing they need something a little bit more to feel complete.
Yeah. And how about the ACHE Fellow credential? Let's talk a little bit about that. Why is that so important for healthcare leaders to earn that credential?
Oh, my goodness. That is such a great question. I kind of think of the fellow credential as a type of board certification for healthcare executives. When I started in healthcare, I came in probably a little too full of myself, to be quite transparent. And I thought, I have a law degree, I'm licensed to practice. And you know what? Nobody cared at all. Yeah. And I thought, but I have an MBA. I speak the same language. And I found that people were like, okay, well, we'll listen to you a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more, because the MBA is kind of, MHA and MBA, very important, right, in healthcare and how we think about things. And what I realized is I wasn't really getting it and the full perspective, because healthcare is extraordinarily complex. So when I started speaking with my CEO at the time about my desire to become a fellow, he lit up. He was extraordinarily supportive, my CEO, my COO, and with their support, I ventured into the fellow journey, and it was a game changer. I was able to connect dots that I hadn't connected before. I understood things that were being said when they weren't actually being said because of those dots. And my colleagues respected that I put in the time, effort, and energy to really understand the industry in a way that is meaningful and in a way that is transformative. And that is what the fellow credential does. When you become a fellow, you become transformed, and you're able to transform healthcare.
So we mentioned in your intro there that you are a faculty member of the Board of Governors Examination Review Course. So let's talk about that. What areas of the exam do you cover? And then how would you best describe your teaching style?
I teach the laws and regulations portion and also human resources. I tend to be an informative instructor, meaning I just want you to know the information. I want you to be prepared for the exam, obviously. It's a challenge. The exam is such a challenging venture. But I also want you to leave informed. I tend to put humor into a lot of what I do just because it makes things easier. And I find that using information and humor, things can stick a little bit. And my goal for those who are really wanting to become fellows is that when you get in the exam, you may read something, or you may read a question, and something will trigger. And whether it was information that we spoke of or humor that we intentionally inserted during our conversation, you're going to remember it, and it will make a difference.
So you mentioned challenging there. What other exam study tips do you have that you can share with our audience?
Well, the first thing is prepare, right? It's so funny because I've taken a lot of big exams in my life. The bar exam, I'm in Texas to become a practicing attorney. The SPHR exam, that high level to be a human resource senior professional, very, very challenging. I actually found the fellow exam to be among the hardest, so probably as hard as the bar exam if I hadn't prepared. So absolutely prepare. What you know is really important, and in order to prepare for the exam, you have to study because you don't know everything. And that exam is designed to be a survey across the entire spectrum of healthcare and leadership. So you have to study, learn the vocabulary. You probably are very well versed in your own area, words that you use, the special meanings they have. But unless you practice in every single area that the exam covers, you're not going to be well versed in the language used. So you have to know your vocabulary. And I think that's probably one of the most important steps, because the exam is so thorough and covers a lot of questions in, a lot of time, but not really a lot of time. You have to pace yourself. You've got to be able to know your vocabulary to understand the question that's being asked, to weed out answers that are maybe distractors, and to be able to really narrow in on what's being asked so you can get to where you need to get. And then focus on timing. It's in a timed exam, and you will run out of time if you're not prepared and don't know your vocabulary. So just be mindful of it, and practice however you can, kind of a cadence in taking such a large exam in such a short amount of time, given the topics that are covered.
All right, so let's just say I've studied. I know my vocabulary, and here we are, a couple days away from the exam, and that anxiety setting in. What advice do you have for me in that situation?
There's no anxiety. What? Yeah, so the anxiety, right? I remember pulling it to the exam site an hour and a half before the exam because I was so nervous about traffic, about all the things that were out of my control. And then I realized I didn't have a cup of coffee, and I'm a coffee drinker. So the headache was kicking in, all of those, things that you don't need on a day when you're trying to be, thoughtful on such an exam. So first, get a good night's sleep, right? If you've prepared. There's no amount of cramming at the end of the day or the night before that's going to get you prepared. So get a good night's sleep. If you're a breakfast eater, have breakfast. Stay as true to your normal morning routine as you possibly can, meaning don't forget your coffee. Very important. Really make sure, on that day of exam that you know the route. It's probably a testing center that you've never been to. So do you know the route to get there? Do you have a backup route in case there is an accident or unexpected traffic? Really, though, I think that those are the day of tips. The best possible thing you can do is review the exam outline, know the topics, develop a plan for your courses, your reading and mentoring in areas where you may need further skill, knowledge, or competency. And again, know that vocabulary. You're going to be fine, right? So the best thing about this exam is that it really prepares you, and it's okay if you are not as prepared the very first time you take it, because you'll learn from that also. So don't be defeated by your own thoughts or fears. Go in knowing that you've got this. You've worked for it, you are prepared, and you've got it. and you'll do your best and you'll be fine.
Well, Dawn, that is great advice, and this has been a fantastic conversation, but we always leave with one last question. You did talk a little bit about ACHE's fellow credential, but when we have an ACHE fellow on the podcast, we always like to ask how the organization has impacted your own journey. How has ACHE helped you along your career?
It has been the game changer in my career. Again, I've been called to healthcare to serve. The same way that most people in healthcare are, and it is the one organization that has made me feel connected to healthcare. It can be a lonely journey, right? Healthcare is complex. It is changing. It can be scary, and when you are new, and even when you're experienced, having a network of others that you can lean into, it's very, very helpful to kind of normalize what you're going through. So that has been the first thing. I feel connected and informed. Another is the network of individuals, having incredible leaders across the largest spectrum of employer population, right? Healthcare, 15% of all employees in the U.S. are somehow connected to healthcare. That's a huge group of people. So to be able to be connected across variable systems and meeting people who are incredibly talented, incredibly knowledgeable, and so kind to share their experiences, that has been a game changer for me as well. And I would say personally, it's made me better. So from a professional standpoint, absolutely, it's been a game changer. I think personally, it makes me more wanting to be involved. And it kind of sounds a little silly, but I find that ACHE is such an incredible organization that I want to give back, and I want to help others through my experience, through what I've learned, through the gift of mentorship through other members of ACHE and ACHE fellows. It has changed me in the past 8 to 10 years that I've been part of healthcare. And I anticipate that it will continue changing me to be better for my community, to be better for other professionals, and to be better in healthcare, right? I don't feel alone, and I feel that I can do anything and accomplish anything because I have a huge network of others who are here and want to support. And that's what ACHE is.
Well said, Dawn. Thank you so much. Dawn Zell-Wright is System Vice President of HR Operations of CHRISTUS Health in Irving, Texas, and an ACHE faculty member of the Board of Governors Examination Review course. And the course is held multiple times throughout the year. So check ache.org for a course that's convenient for you. Dawn, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day. Bye now.
And thanks so much for listening today. And we will, of course, catch you next time right here on the Healthcare Executive Podcast from ACHE.
This has been the Healthcare Executive Podcast, brought to you by the American College of Healthcare Executives. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing on iTunes or your podcasting app of choice. And for more information, find us online at ache.org.